Hey guys, what's up? Scottish Duck here, once again. Okay, right. This is gonna be my little first impressions video on Shining Force Refrain. I don't know if I'll do a full review of this game because I feel like I'm about to say a lot of the stuff that I want to say here, and like pretty much after I finish the game, all I really need to say is, oh, it's good, it's bad, it's this out of 10, it's that out of whatever. I don't know, but I feel like I want to throw this out there just because the game's out. It's been getting so-so reviews. You know, the reviews are not bad at all, which is more than I was expecting for it, quite frankly. But yeah, I really gotta just get this out here. So let's begin, shall we? Shining Force Refrain is a remaster of a PlayStation 3 game. It came out in 2014, December 2014, you know. We were quite a decent ways into the 8th generation by the time this PlayStation 3 game came out. But yeah, they've, a few years later, they've remastered it, bunged it out there, and made it available for the world to play, because it was originally Japanese exclusive. So I think, like I do with all of these, I'm going to talk about my history with Shining, and it's still a relatively recent thing in my life, and I'm pretty sure I've already talked about it in a few videos, but I'm going to reiterate it here. So, Shining was basically Sega's answer to Fire Emblem, okay? Shining Force, I should say. The Shining series is quite vast and spans a lot of different genres. It just always has the word Shining in it, but Shining Force is definitely the most famous for being like Sega's strategy RPG. And I remember, I think it was like sometime last year, I first started playing them, because I would, what it was actually is that I would look at my Sega Saturn collection, and I would think to myself, right, what haven't I played yet? Because I was very adamant in, like, playing all the games I owned, basically. And I saw Shining Force 3, I'm like, oh, I should really play that, but then it's like, oh wait, I should play the first two on the Mega Drive first. Yeah. Nothing against playing an RPG on the Mega Drive or whatever, I just knew that it would be like this big, massive time commitment, and when you're an adult, that shit's expensive, you know? Your time is expensive, I should say. You gotta fucking prioritize that shit. So eventually I was just like, right, let's give this a go. So I started the first Shining Force game, and I got all the way to the end of Shining Force 3, and it is one of my favorite Sega franchises ever, you know, for something that I discovered so recently. I was surprised at how much enjoyment I really got out of it. And even guys, right, I talk about me being biased towards Sega quite a bit. And, you know, I semi-joke about it, but here, I'm not joking about it, I'm dead serious, right? This series, these games on the Mega Drive and the Saturn, are so much better than any Fire Emblem game I've played. In fact, it actually made me question, do I really like Fire Emblem as much as I thought, you know? Like, that's the sort of impact that it had on me. Not gonna get into it here, I'm sure I've already pissed off a shitload of people, but suffice to say, the Shining games, the Shining Force games, I should say, really, like, wowed me in that aspect. And I remember I went on to Shining in the Holy Ark for the Saturn, which is the sequel to Shining in the Darkness for the Mega Drive, and both of those games were actually first-person dungeon crawler RPGs as opposed to strategy RPGs. And I had low expectations going into Shining in the Holy Ark, but I came out of it thinking, fuck, was that actually better than any of the Shining Force games? Seriously, this franchise just keeps on surprising me. But with that said, also on the Saturn, there was also Shining Wisdom, which was a Zelda clone, which I couldn't get into. I'm basically talking about all this just to show you that the Shining series is kind of just like a name attached to games that aren't even really loosely connected. They were kind of all just made by the same developer back in the day. Maybe the items shared the same names and whatnot, but basically the genre of Shining was not locked down. So, yeah. As time went on, you know, the original developers of the Shining series, they were known as Sonic Software Planning. Not to be confused with Sonic Team, I know it's confusing. But sometime during the Sega Saturn era, Team Sonic Software Planning, basically left Sega and formed Camelot Studios and went to go be best friends with Nintendo, and they have since made the Golden Sun games and also work on the Mario Tennis games. So that's what the developers of the Shining games are doing now. So Sega opted to just give it to a bunch of random developers as time went on, and also eventually they decided, okay, this series is Japan exclusive now, which is not an uncommon thing for them to do at all. And Discord's going mental, dear oh dear. So yeah, that was going on for a while, and most fans in the West were just like, no, Shining, no, this, all that. And eventually a new era of Shining came into being, okay? There was a trilogy of games on the PSP. Shining Hearts, fuck, I can't remember the rest of them. Go on Wikipedia, it's easy. And all of these games had character design done by an artist called Tony Taka. Now, I don't know too much about Tony Taka, but his character design is very... put it this way, the guy's worked on like 18 plus eroge visual novels, okay? So he's like kind of well versed in making girls look sexy, kawaii, whatever you want to talk about. And he's doing the character design for this relatively charming Tolkien-esque RPG with its sort of dwarfs and its centaurs and elves and stuff. I don't think Tony Taka's ever designed a centaur, basically. You'll not find centaurs in any of his games. Or do you, actually? That would be interesting to know. Maybe I should look that up later. But basically, a lot of Shining fans have expressed disinterest in his character design, okay? He's kind of infamous among the Shining community because of it. Now, we've never had any of his games localized, so the outcry's not been that big, and even when I wasn't a fan of Shining, I would always see people kind of complaining about his character design. It's like, and you could tell from a glance, it's like, yeah, this is clearly more weeb-friendly, this character design, and you can just look at any screenshots of Shining Force Resonance, Shining Resonance, I keep calling it Shining Force Resonance, fuck's sake. Shining Resonance Refrain, and you'll see, yeah, everybody's sort of a waifu. Even the male character designs have that sort of, like, weeb-friendly aspect to them. You know, they're all in trench coats, for example. They all look so serious, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, people... When this game got announced, some people were like, yeah, because it doesn't feel like a return to the Shining formula for sure. It feels like, I mean, Sega's kind of touting it as such, but it really isn't. It's a very different beast, okay? Both in its style and its gameplay. And the thing is, guys, right? I'm very, very torn about it because as someone who follows the company quite closely, I can tell Sega really tried with this game, you know? They put a lot of, like, I should say, it appeared that they put a lot of effort into it. When it got announced, it actually got announced worldwide, you know. Usually Sega will announce a game in Japan and then a few months later maybe they'll announce it for the West, but this, and it was also Valkyria Chronicles 4, they got announced on the same day as Japan got it, you know, and it was like, oh, okay, you know, it's not used to this, fair enough, awesome. And you know, other little things like the fact that the Switch version of the game is apparently full 1080p, which when it's docked, that is. That's pretty cool. And I'm also certain that Atlas must have had a hand in all of this, right? Because the localization and the voice acting is actually really good, okay, in this game. And so I'm pretty sure Atlas must have, like, had their hand in it, which is great because this is exactly what I wanted Sega to use Atlas for back when they bought them. I'm like, Sega, you don't localize shit. Why have you bought a company that localizes shit really well? You better use them to localize your shit very well. And it looks like they're doing that. I'm guessing Valkyria Chronicles 4 is also going to be, like, done by Atlas, but, you know, whatever. That's, basically, yeah, with, like, and you've also got, like, the special edition that they launched with it. I feel like they really want it to do good. I feel like they want to, like, hey guys, if you were fans of the Shining series, here you go. Like, because they were talking about bringing back old IPs, which they've been doing here and there. You know, House of the Dead just recently sort of came back. We got like a Puyo Puyo game for the first time in years over here, and that did really well. And of course, Yakuza, even though that's not necessarily a new IP, an old IP, I should say, they are pushing that really hard with good results. So, yeah. But the game itself, is it good, or should I just like listen to the Shining fan inside me and think, oh, don't play this, this isn't the Shining Force you love, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, The story is alright so far. I'm only 8 hours in, by the way. Again, this is not like a full review. But the thing about the story and the characters as well, if I haven't alluded to it already, is that it's very weeb-friendly. It's exactly like a light novel, right? The premise is just that, okay? Your main character, Yuma, okay, he looks just like any typical anime protagonist. He is surrounded by all of these waifus, okay? There's really no other word to describe them. They're all fucking waifus. And you can even go out on dates with them and, like, raise your affinity and stuff. Which is super weird that he's asking these girls out on dates, because he's actually, like, a super shy, super incompetent, cowardly guy, you know? He's not too likable, but he's asking out these girls, and he's even two-timing them. You can go out with multiple people. It's like, fuck's sake, this is very consistent, is it? But I know why that is. It's because this game is clearly trying to tap into, you know, that sort of, like, I don't know, dating sim almost crowd. I mean, you can, like, get costumes and bikinis for, like, everybody, all of the women in this game, and there's costumes for the guys as well, but nowhere near as much, but more on that later. But yeah, the story is pretty much just like, you're this guy, he can turn into a dragon, so that, therefore, he is important, and you've got, like, bad guys, you gotta go take that. The story's not too big, which is probably another thing, because again, there is so much of it. Mainly in terms of, like, optional conversations you can have with NPCs. They kind of act like the skits in, like, the Tales of games, and also random cutscenes that you would find in, like, the Atelier games, if anybody's ever played those. Basically, you can just, like, get these random bits of story throughout the town where the game is set, and you just get, like, humorous little bits of dialogue, and I always liked that, you know, again, like the skits in the Tales of games, you know, they always break up the pace, they always, like, you get to know the characters a bit more, become more attached to them and stuff, and the game has a lot of that. Even 8 hours in, I'm seeing, like, them come up constantly, seriously. Yeah, that's, so, story is, like, it's weird, if you're into that sort of thing, then you will probably absolutely love this, you really will, but to be fair, the other Shining games weren't too heavy on story, you know? They were kind of just a means of getting to your battles or crawling through your dungeons and stuff. So it's definitely more story-centric. And again, at least it is acted well. At least it is written well. The translation, that is, I should say. But I don't think the story is going to be the main thing that I keep playing this game for. Now, the other thing I should point out, by the way, is that this the refrain in this title, right? Why is this, like, considered an extended edition? Well, the original game in Japan was heavily monetized. I've googled a little bit of this, and I don't know how much of it's true, but there was so much fucking DLC for this game. It was absolutely ridiculous. When it came to, like, costumes, like skimpy outfits for your waifus, you bought them individually in Japan, okay? You could pay, like, 1,000 yen, which is the equivalent to, like, 7 quid or something, for, like, characters to play as in the campaign that were featured elsewhere. And you also had, like, most astonishingly of all, is that if you died in the game, I only know this because of a couple of forum posts, I kind of don't believe it, but I'm gonna say it anyway, because it appears to be that it is true. If you died in the game, you could use, like, a retry ticket or something, which was a ticket that you bought with real money, and you could just, like, retry right then and there, otherwise you had to load your save up again. So it's like, holy shit, Sega, that is some fucking avarice right there. That is some EA levels of shit. Probably even worse, to be honest, than anything EA is. I don't know, but that's really bad. Thankfully, in this one, there's no such thing. All of the DLC, all of the bikinis, and all of the maid outfits that you want to dress up your waifus in this game, they're unlocked right from the start, okay? You can retry as many times as you want. If you suck at a boss, you can keep hitting retry and keep going for it. That's good. And there's also called a Refrain mode, and what the Refrain mode is, from my knowledge, is that you basically have the two characters that were originally DLC in your party from the beginning of the game. And the thing about these two party members is that they are actually villains in the main story. I've came across them already. And it's basically kind of jarring because they're featured in the cutscenes as like enemies, but they're also there in your party. It's basically for people who've already beaten the game and just want them in your party, you know? You can if you want to, so yeah, but it's still recommended that you play the original mode first and foremost before playing Refrain. Yeah, so it's nice that Sega kind of had enough faith in this game that they decided, okay, strip out all of the shite monetization, let's just make it a complete package, and that's that. Hopefully, there better not be any DLC for this game. Like, I know I didn't have to succumb to any of it because I don't live in Japan, but holy shit, it really does sound bad. And one other thing I want to point out is that it's funny I was talking about the Tales of games recently, because this game is basically Tales. It's Tales of, you know? This is the series that I guess Sega decided to go after for this particular iteration of the Shining games. Combat is very simplistic. You're just bashing the buttons until the enemy dies, basically. You can switch between the characters if you want. You can do a particular button combination to do a certain super move that will use up your MP. There are other things to it as well, like you can't attack continuously, you have a bar that like goes down. You also have like a heavy attack, which is actually unique depending on the character that you use, so it adds a bit of like diversity to the roster. But apart from that, it really is Tales, you know? You could have told me that this was like the new Tales of game and I would have believed you, okay? Because there's not really much similarities between the other Shining Force games. And I think that also kind of represents my attitude with the game in general, because the last couple of Tales of games I've been very iffy on. You know, they've really like, they've started to like show, what's the word? Basically, they've been getting kind of samey, you know? And because they're so samey, my enthusiasm to play them, like I didn't get through the prologue of Tales of Berseria, for example. So my sort of enthusiasm's been like diminishing to play them. And I also feel like the overall quality of them has been affected as a result. In terms of quality, this does feel like a modern Tales game, you know? That's I don't know if that's too like unflattering to Tales or whatever, but I guess that's just a perfect way to represent my sort of attitude with it. And another thing that it has in common with Tales, actually, is, as already talked about, this is a PlayStation 3 game. We have yet to see a Tales of game that was developed exclusively for next-gen consoles. And this is like, I see this is a massive pet peeve of mine, and I've ranted about it before, but I'm going to rant about it again, goddammit. This game has, like, little quality-of-life things that we expect from modern games that it doesn't have. Like, fast travel, for example. And, you know, just little, like, indicators that tell you, oh, you should do this, or you should do that. There's a lot of little things that this game does not have, okay? But, it's not because it was a PS3 game, okay? People will say, oh, well, it's a PS3 game, so it's aged, blah, blah, blah. The game came out at the end of 2014, okay? Well into this current generation, okay? If it's missing quality of life features, just say it's missing quality of life features. Don't say, oh, it's a PS3 game, and assume that just means, oh, of course it was shit. It was on PlayStation 3. Whew, I don't know why. That really, really bugs me. I think it was because of Last Guardian. People used to say that about Last Guardian as well, and it's just like, why is the fact that it was developed on PS3 such a big... Oh, fuck it. Back to this game. Actually, I don't think I have too much more to say about it, really. Like I said, the reviews it's getting are pretty okay. You know, it's not like setting the world on fire or anything, but it's clearly like getting good enough reviews so that it's not considered like a flop. And for the sake of this series and like me being a fan, I guess I'm happy about that, even though this isn't exactly what I want from the series. But I'll take that level of satisfaction, I guess. I am dedicated to beating this game, but I'm not expecting too much here going on, you know? I'm just expecting, like, oh, you'll get to the end, you'll fight a bunch of enemies, meet these characters. You know, nothing's really going to change, basically, based on the first, like, 8 hours that I have played. So, do I recommend it? short answer, no. I don't think I do recommend it. Basically, right, first of all, if you've got a Switch, right, don't buy this game, okay? Buy Octopath Traveler. It came out in the same week. I don't know why Sega opted to release it the same week as that, but yeah, buy Octopath Traveler instead of this. I haven't even played Octopath Traveler yet. I've only played the demo, but I can tell you there's a lot more heart and like quality in that game than there is this one. All right. But what if you've got a PS4 or an Xbox? Is this game going to sell a single copy on Xbox? I really don't think so, but what do you do in that case? Well, if you're a Shining fan and you're curious, maybe, but to be honest, probably the thing that actually bugs me the most about this game, well, not the most, but a thing I really does get in the way with me recommending it, is that it's really pricey. It's full price, and if you look on like Amazon.co.uk, it's actually more pricey than something like Valkyria Chronicles 4, which is, you know, also from Sega, but that's a built from the ground up next-gen game. This is just a HD port, so why is it more expensive? I don't know, that's really weird, and I fully expect this to go down in price within a couple of months. You know, it'll be down to like 20 or 30 quid easy, okay? So, when it gets to that price, by all means, definitely go for it. If you're curious, that is. But as of now, I can't recommend it in good heart, okay? I do applaud Sega for trying, really I do, and I don't exactly want the game to flop or whatever, but I also want them to put in a bit more effort and listen to their fans a bit more when it comes to this series. So, we'll see how that goes, okay? I'm hoping for the best, but again, I gotta say how it is. The game is not as good as it could be. It's just, oh, it fills me with so much complicated feelings. God damn it. I better end this video now, guys. Okay, that's that. See you after. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.